these.
I forget what they're called. Gazelles. They're my husband's favorite, so they're always the first one I make every year.
Does he know that you brought them?
There is a stack of them still at home. So yeah.
You think he won't know?
Yeah.
We got 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were very good. They're
And that this is
in
part
this.
of mine too.
Yeah.
It's like that. Do you guys want the cheese?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, you're so
I'll
strong.
have one after.
What are the flavors?
Mint
Might not be
chocolate,
enough.
orange vanilla,
Yeah.
and anise.
Which one did you get?
Then on the other hand, that's not so bad either.
Yeah.
Anise is like licorice, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the licorice
That
flavor.
sounds so good.
Yeah, this is a nice.
Okay.
So this is the anise pile. That's the orange vanilla, and that's the mint.
I have to get out my cream cooker. I do those in rosettes.
Tis the season. My mom started her rosettes today.
I don't really know
Borrow.
what those are, so I guess that's what everything is.
Everything's from Taco?
She had to borrow my deep fat fryer because she doesn't have her own. She does it every Christmas, and it's the only time we use it, so I don't know. Leave it at her house.
There we go.
Every first of the year, it comes back to my house to live until next Christmas. So crew pocket, that's quite the display piece.
Erin, you're gonna need that, right?
At a request.
Direction.
And then,
Hi.
I probably won't do this here, but I also do that, so.
Oh, yeah.
Got the adapter too, please.
Crew pocket is built into like
Do you have your
a
own
Christmas
list?
tree.
Yeah. Oh, was that cousin issues?
I think that might be the issue.
I can try my own.
That's too
Yeah.
bad.
Okay.
Otherwise, I can project again if you want me to pull them up.
I'll see if this one works.
We're good? My computer says 529. Oh, okay. My computer says 529. All right, I will call this meeting to order on December 15th. Up first, we have new employee welcome. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
So maybe I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah,
To do introductions.
so Luke Smith and Jenna Lotzer, I knew I was gonna get that wrong. They just started on the 1st of December. Both of our brand new probationary firefighters.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Well, I met Jenna at Carver Village Christmas. She started volunteering at events like 3 days after starting, which is great. Right. Okay, this is the awkward part. We always tend to do two truths and a lie with new employees. I truly chose it. It started during COVID when we were all virtual, and it was just an easy way to get to know people. It's not intended to be awkward, and sometimes it's just easier to have fun facts to share about yourself. So, do you want to go first, Jenna?
Mayor,
Can we have them?
can we do introductions?
Oh, yes. Well, you know what? I'm so excited.
Mine's really not exciting, so.
We'll go around the table and we'll do introductions. I'm Courtney Johnson. I'm the mayor of the city of Carver.
I'm Christy Conrad, I almost said not Conrad, City Council.
Hi, I'm Erin Smith. I'm the Community Development Director for the city.
I'm Brenda Good, Administrative Services Manager.
Hi, Brent, we've met.
Eric Pershman, City Council.
Kayla Pasco, City Council.
Lori Sayer, also City Council.
And I'm Erin Schmidt, I'm the city engineer.
Who sometimes gets to sit at this table.
Yep. Those are the kid table.
Right,
Just
yeah.
give Brent for next week.
Yeah. Okay, with that,
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. I have 2 kids. I drive a manual car and I work with medical devices.
okay, there's no one clear winner.
I don't know. I expect Jenna to.
Yeah, everybody's welcome. You all can play too if you want. Okay, which one's the lie?
The second one.
Oh,
So disappointed.
I thought you had 3 kids for some reason.
No, I only got 2.
I was good on 3 kids.
Yeah.
Nope, I have 2 boys and I am a packaging engineer for a medical device company.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
Awesome. All right.
All right, I'm Luke. My 2 truths and a lie. I once won a lefse baking competition. I believe that ketchup belongs on everything, and I lived in Honduras for 3 months.
Oh, what was the second one?
I believe ketchup belongs on everything.
That's the truth.
Oh.
It's not that one.
Okay, it's between, kind of 1 and 3 is the split for the most part. Which one's the lie?
2.
Oh!
Ketchup is the one.
Take that.
A lefse baking contest.
Yep.
All right.
You and Eric can
Awesome.
team up.
Yeah.
Or compete.
Our next meeting is the first
Monday.
Monday. Well, welcome you guys. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for putting yourself out there. Thank you for going through the volunteer process, or through the interview process, and being well on your way to becoming firefighters. I know that the training, especially these first couple of years, is robust. So I appreciate your time commitment and your willingness to be part of the team.
Yeah, excited.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the part where you guys are welcome to stay for the rest of the evening and come to every single one of our meetings after this point.
With that.
Or you can take the opportunity to duck out at this point, so.
Thank you so much.
And as you can see, she's setting the.
Oh, you love ketchup.
Follow our leader here.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we've got the 2026 street project review.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pull up a presentation here to go off of tonight. See if I can get this to work here. All right, looks like we're ready to rock. So, wanted to take an opportunity to talk to the council tonight about the 2026 street project in a little bit more detail. We had talked briefly about it a month or two ago now, but have a few more details that we want to go through. We've also had an open house since then, so we wanted to talk about that a little bit and just kind of talk about the next steps and how the council would like to move forward. So, first of all, just recap with kind of just the project areas to remind you all where things are at. This project is broken into 2 chunks. The first being kind of the local street maintenance piece, what council's been accustomed to the last few years. This would be down in the Carver Bluffs neighborhood again. And combination of mill and overlay and reclamation in the Carver Bluffs. And then also we have a small seal coat, or a fog seal, excuse me, on the White Pine Way trail system, which is the newer piece west of Jonathan Carver Parkway. So that's the composition of the local street maintenance funds that you'll be seeing the breakdown here in a bit.
Erin, this doesn't complete the work in the bluffs, does it? Is there
No.
still some? Okay.
There's still 1 more year left in the Bluffs.
Is that Ramsey? Is that when Ramsey Avenue goes?
Ramsey and then Bluff Road, that loop road.
Yeah.
We'll get that finished out next year. Then we have the state aid portion. So this is all going to be used with state aid funds to pay for. This is a larger reclamation project of Mount Hope Road. So one of our major collector systems through the city, connecting County Road 61 down to Old Carver Road. So that's a kind of a primary collector, as I mentioned. It's on our state aid system. And we talked about the northern termini is up at Spring Creek Drive, which is our city limit line. And then the proposed plan is to stop at 5th Street, which would be 1 block north of Old Carver Road. So until we have definition to what that intersection improvement looks like at the intersection there at Old Carver Road, we feel it's best to hold that short, just so we don't have any pavement redo in the future. So that would be the proposed southern terminus of the project. One item in particular that we wanted to note was we would intend to include 2 digital speed signs along the corridor as part of the project, unless the council feels otherwise. So just one piece there that we wanted to mention.
Are they permanent ones there? They don't have to move, like, we don't move them around town?
They would be permanently installed, similar to what we would have on 6th Street, for example.
One in each direction.
Correct. Yep. As I mentioned, we did have an open house on October 14th. We were planning to have those on site in a couple of various locations, but we actually had some pretty poor weather that day. So we decided to move it to City Hall. We had that noted on the open house invitation that in the event of weather, we would be down here at City Hall in Village Hall Room. So we actually had 9 residents that stopped by as part of the open house, and wanted to share some of the feedback that we gathered as part of that. Number 1, Mount Hope Road section. There was actually quite a bit of talk around the cemetery area. There was a couple residents that live nearby the cemetery, and one of the suggestions was possibly adding a fence line to the southerly edge of our cemetery property, and then also paving the cemetery loop roads in conjunction with this project. This is one that's currently planned for 2033 in the pavement management plan, when we're doing the Forner Lane, Christie Drive area. So that's where that time's out right now, but if the council would wanna move that up, we'd obviously have to move up the cash flow accordingly to make that work. There's also a retaining wall kind of along the southerly edge of the cemetery as it butts up to the trail system, which would be taken care of when we redo the trail as part of the project. So those are kind of the key pieces that we heard up in that area. One other question was, or they wanted assurance that we'd have enough crown in the road after we repaved it, so basically adequate cross slopes on the road paving, which I told them that we would make sure that we had in there to make sure that the drainage gets to the gutter lines. And then a couple just general questions about, well, how does it work for access during construction? So we communicated that your driveway, you'd still be able to access your driveway each evening. In the event that there was a piece of severely damaged curb in front of your driveway, we would want to take care of that as part of the project, but we'd make special communication with each resident if that were the case. That's kind of a one-off issue. It doesn't happen very often, but we would communicate that in advance and try to coordinate that with the resident as needed.
One thing about the cemetery, so if we're going to look at paving those roads, excuse me, right now, it's kind of easy because it's gravel to pull off. I mean, obviously when people come to a cemetery, they're visiting the cemetery, they're getting out of their vehicles. We don't have any spot that's really designated for parking within the cemetery that I have recognized when I've been up there. So maybe that's something we want to put in our caps for later if we are going to think about paving those roads in there, that there's little spots where people can pull off so that they're not blocking if more people are trying to drive in. I know it's not a super high traffic area, but let's not encourage people to drive all over the grass, either park on the grass if we're gonna pave.
Okay.
Erin, I have a question, but did they say why, when you got feedback about asking to pave that sooner?
They didn't really mention why exactly. It doesn't sound like there's really like a nuisance, like gravel tracking issue onto the road or anything like that. Seems like drainage is working okay. It was more of just a suggestion, I guess, that we received.
Is there any efficiency gained in doing it when we do this road, or we?
The only thing that you would benefit is just if you pave the roads now, you could pull the paver out like onto Mount Hope Road, so you might save just a little just construction tracking along the paving, like on the mat itself. So you might get some scuff marks in the future if you did it in 2033 or whatever, but.
We also get some ruts back in there if we have heavy rains, I believe, don't we? Don't we have to go and grade that road out
I'd have to
so often?
check. I haven't done that to my knowledge recently.
Yeah, I know when Paul and I had talked about the cemetery in the past, we knew if we paved it, we would have to do some minor grading as well, just to make sure that the drainage all worked. We can't get it too high where it blocks the drainage. So that would be one thing we'd have to look at.
There was work done maybe 6-7 years ago. My bad. 5-6 years ago.
But you.
Or there was the roads were in pretty tough shape, and so there was some grading, some dead tree removal, etc. But I think for the most part, based on Erin's comments right now, would be an aesthetic, and I think we were probably talking in that $20,000 to $30,000 range. We don't have anywhere close to that. Just like the trail conversation that's impending, unless you create an opportunity by fill in the blank, there isn't a ready-made cash flow for that kind of addition unless bids come in really well, and then there's a kind of a conversation on priorities. Would you rather invest additional work in the cemetery versus another road that's maybe deteriorating, might go from a mill overlay to reclamation? There's kind of a lot of different decision trees that can happen by making one of these decisions to move this up.
Kayla, did you have something?
Yes, are we prepared to do any temporary parking permits for people who are in Carver Bluffs that are having, if we're doing a reclamation or any major mill and overlay, that they would need to be, if they choose not to park in their own driveways due to the construction?
We've never done that before. I mean, they
Well,
always
we have a
have
new parking ordinance, so.
They
help
couldn't
me.
keep their cars on the street with the construction going on.
No, I'm saying like if they wanted to park like outside of the construction. So, for example, my parents don't like, when their road was under construction, they
Yep.
didn't like having to drive in and out because my dad had a new car and he's
Yep.
like that. I'm
The same
not,
dad.
he is.
At the same time.
So he would be someone who would want to have an option to park on an adjacent street that is not under construction, so that he would not have to drive in and out of the construction zone with a new vehicle.
Yeah, we have in the past provided in like public parking areas, like temporary parking, like Lions Park we've allowed when we did like a mill and overlay, I think on Skyview, or we did that. I'd have to give some thought to if you allowed like a temporary restriction on the ordinance. It would only apply, I don't know, what do we put that at, 42 or 70, 48 or 72?
Yeah, it would be.
It would only if they left their car there for like 3 days, but if that's something you want us to dig into, we certainly can.
It's not necessary. I know we have a provision in the ordinance that you can issue temporary parking waivers, so.
Yeah, that's what we would, in this instance, if someone had an issue in the Bluffs, just from the top of my head, was we would let them park in Bluff Park parking lot overnight.
Sounds good, as long as we have a plan.
Thank you.
Yep, and just to reiterate, the goal is if people want to drive in to their driveway each night, they can, but I hear your point if you don't want to drive on the gravel reclaim.
I'm glad your dad's like my dad, Courtney.
I like your dad too.
Okay, as long as we have a plan, Eric, I'm okay.
So then just to round off the comments, in the Carver Bluffs neighborhood, there was more questions just about how does access work and such things. And then the one other comment we did receive was working day restrictions for the week of steamboat days. So traditionally what we have in our construction contracts are Friday through Sunday of steamboat days. We prohibit work, but we allow construction to occur, through Thursday of that week. So there was a suggestion of limiting working days, more strictly.
So as the person who manages steamboat days, I don't think it needs to be any more than it is. I mean, I know we like garage sales, but that's, though for me, we have the buses that come through to give rides to people from down, or from up there to down here. That starts Friday. So, or no, that's only Saturday even, so sorry. Okay. So to me, what we have is status quo or through Thursday is just fine, as long as it's quiet by Friday, okay?
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you just want me to keep going, Mayor, and then we'll take questions?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so one of the bigger topics we wanted to talk about tonight was the potential trail connection on Mount Hope Road. This was one that we kicked off last time, but we have some more details that we wanted to really dig into with the council and get some direction from you all on. So this is a gap that's in our trail system today. It goes from Lions Park down to downtown here at Old Carver Road. So currently, any users of the trail to the north would have to go on the road for that last couple blocks to get to downtown or vice versa. There is some challenges. Obviously, we have a lot of topography issues in this area. And depending on where you sit, there's a retaining wall on the west side of the road today, and then there's also several driveways on the east side, which make things very difficult. The biggest issue is where the road is situated in the in-place right-of-way today. The road is basically very tight to the easterly right-of-way line, which would make putting a permanent trail on the east side not possible without acquiring additional permanent easements for the trail. So that's kind of the biggest driver and why we think the east side isn't really a valid option. There's a lot of complexities with 5 driveways on that side, plus the permanent right-of-way acquisition process would make things extremely challenging. So right now we're gonna focus on the west side of the road and talk about some of the complexities with that as we're seeing it. And just to remind the council, we're estimating this at about $500,000. So this is not a cheap endeavor by any means, so just keep that at the forefront of our minds as we talk about this tonight as well. So what the proposed plan would be to make this happen is the in-place retaining wall is situated about 3 to 4 feet behind the curb today. And what that would have to do is that whole retaining wall would have to shift to the west, where we'd want that to be situated as 10 feet behind the curb. So that would allow for a 2-foot clear zone plus an 8-foot trail, so 10 feet in total, which is essentially what we did on 6th Street for that state aid route. 8-foot standard trail with that 2-foot clear zone, so you're not basically right up against the retaining wall when you're driving a bicycle up and down that corridor.
Erin, for emphasis, I know we talked about it at a previous council meeting, but there are different requirements because we're using state aid funds. Can you bring that up again and talk about that?
So for it to meet a trail standard, it has to be 8 feet wide, and then you also have to maintain that clear zone distance.
That is absolutely required.
Yep. Otherwise, you have to go down to a sidewalk section. So, and the rest of that.
So sidewalk section, you can do that?
You could go down to like a 6-foot sidewalk behind the curb, but that would not meet what the rest of the section is going to the north. So that's a trail. So you would be essentially going from a trail like route in your city down to a sidewalk.
Okay, so sounds fine. My question though is, does that still meet the requirements then if we are on our state aid road, if we were to just put in a sidewalk at the 8 feet or whatever it is? Or 6, sorry, with the 6.
You still have to remove the retaining wall regardless, so you're not really getting out of any of the issues that we're talking about.
How many feet are from the retaining wall to the curb line?
It's 3 to 4 feet, so it doesn't meet even a sidewalk section.
So the difference between a trail and a sidewalk is 2 feet? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That and it's a nuance, but the city doesn't plow sidewalks, so the adjacent property owner is responsible for maintaining that sidewalk, i.e. shoveling it.
Good point.
But the cost would be basically the same because regardless,
You're going
we
through
have
all
to
of that.
move the retaining wall.
Yep.
And on a trail, we'll get more likely to get the funding.
You'd still get funding for the sidewalk behind the curb, but it just, again, it's not, I guess the question is, do you wanna have this as part of your trail network?
I have a few more questions logistically here. So if we've got, what did you say, 3 feet maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, the sidewalks in the downtown area here are between 3 and 4 feet in the historic district. We do have them in town. But if we have 3 to 4 feet, and let's say we have to get to 6-ish to maybe 8, whatever it is, we have right of way on the other side of the road without removing that retaining wall. Can we shift at all? Like, use the space, use the 3 feet of trail that we have there, add on the additional feet, and then push the road?
Push the whole road east, you're saying?
Yeah, in that section?
That would be pretty tight because we have hydrants on the east side of the road. We also have signage. We needed right of way for the 8-foot trail if we were gonna do it on the east side. So I don't think we'd get it if we shifted the road.
And then we're pouring new curb and gutter and moving fire hydrants.
So you'd basically have you'd have 1,400 feet of curb that you'd have to replace.
Yeah, I think we
would
wanna
snowball.
check too the difference, cause I'm assuming concrete's gonna be more expensive than blacktop.
Yes, it's about twice as much.
And right across the street, just measuring quick on GIS, the right of way on the east side of the road is about 1 foot. So gaining 1 foot if you shifted it plus 3 gets you to 4 only.
Yeah, it's really tight.
So if we did this as a trail and we made it 6 feet, just on its own, like just 6, let's say 5 feet, whatever, so we get a weird number here. So 5 feet. So what would that impact then for, is that all out of pocket then? I mean, we just say as a city, okay, we're gonna do the road your way, a state aid road, but we're gonna put in a 5-foot trail because it fits here and we're coming into old sections of town and we can't make everything to brand new standards all the time when we're in old sections of Carver.
We could maintain it, number one.
What was that?
Based on past projects, they wouldn't approve our plans.
Okay.
It's kind of you have to meet all their standards. We kind of went through that on the bicycle paths for 6th Street, that it's kind of all or nothing,
Okay,
so.
okay.
And you can try to run it, but I think what Erin is saying is correct in that even moving in that retaining wall foot, you're still moving the entire retaining wall, so I'm not sure if that's your question, but on the state aid part, it's been an all or nothing, at least in the projects that we've submitted to them.
Can the road be, so what I'm trying to get at is like, how do we not have to obliterate that retaining wall and put up all that money towards that retaining wall? And so how wide is that road? Can the road narrow?
It's already we already prohibit parking on one side due to the width, so I wouldn't suggest going any narrower with that road.
But this is considered a collector, correct?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of our collectors don't have parking on them.
Yeah, I mean, you could, I mean, it's just.
This is a hard spot, I wanna look at all the options.
No, it's good, I mean, just from the experiences that all of us have, is that road feels really tight, so the idea of narrowing it seems anxiety ridden, but we could still test it out. We have plenty of time. You could look at lane widths. I mean, the lane, I'm not sure.
I think it's 26.
Yeah,
26.
so if we went down to 24, we'd have to prohibit parking on both sides. So 26 is, meets fire code for parking on one side.
Well, actually, we'd only have to do it in this section from the park down. The rest of the road can stay the way it's at, cause that trail's already in place. So it would just be from Lions Park down to 5th, is that 5th? Right there? Yeah, to 5th.
Really good old Carver Road eventually, but yeah. I don't hate that idea, it's a hill anyways. So we probably don't want folks parking on it.
Do you gain
And
it?
it would really just be that section, who's gonna, yeah.
But that doesn't give us enough.
So that gets us up to 3 feet if we add the easement from the other side. So we're at 6 feet
The
total.
easement from the other side is pouring all new.
That's true, so,
Yeah.
so take the word to 2 feet, so we're at 5 feet and we need 6 feet.
No, we
So, I think what
6 feet per sidewalk, 8 feet per trail.
what I'm hearing is the council's interested in looking at narrowing the road in a section so that the retaining wall doesn't have to be touched, and we could come back to you with what that might look like.
I think what I'm hearing is the council is interested in us getting creative and making a trail happen, is what I feel. And I'm saying a trail, and I mean a trail or a sidewalk or some safe route for pedestrians to get up that hill.
Yeah. When we look at snow removal, I mean, down here at Gazebo Park, they use the brush on all the sidewalks and everything to clear out Gazebo Park. If we had to have an exception area in town where it's this, they brushed that road as a sidewalk rather than a trail, I mean, I think the council can talk about that and make that decision if.
My biggest concern.
Because you couldn't, let's wait on it, so I'm just.
Yeah. My priority would be not moving the retaining wall, because as soon as we touch that retaining wall, we're in hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I personally can't justify that for 3 blocks, 4 blocks of road. But if we can find a creative solution that gets us the width we need without moving the retaining wall and staying within our easements.
And the way I struggle too is because this is a very logical way to come down. We do have the trail that goes up the backside, so technically you're accessible to get to Lions Park, but it's not, it's not lit, it's steep. I mean, it's a long steep, yeah. That's steep also, but it's but
It's crazy steep.
yeah, so.
Can you go back a slide too? I think that this is such an important connection for, maybe back one more. The Mount Hope section, I think. Because one more.
Okay.
One more. So this one, because if you take a look at all those residents that are up there, there is Skyview, there's all the folks in Christie's Bluff. We're gonna be getting potentially new Chaska residents who are interested. Triangle between 212 and Chaska Boulevard is Chaska. I just feel really important, really strongly that we need to figure out a way to make a trail.
Or sidewalk, accessible.
I'm saying trail, I mean whatever a
Pedestrian
pedestrian can use to get
Pedestrian
downtown.
connection.
Because there's, beyond Lions Park, there are parks downtown. We all know that there's a an ice cream store that's real popular. Casey's is popular with the kids. It's the children that are coming down the hill that I want to make sure have a safe spot to get downtown.
Tell me again what jeopardizes any funding for this?
Not meeting state aid standards for any number of, I would say minimum road specifications that they have for funding. If this was Spring Creek Drive, you could put like a 2-foot sidewalk there if you wanted to. It's just, we're using, all of this project is 100% funded at this point from state aid. So whether you do it with their project or you do it later, you're kind of subject to their rules. And, we spent several meetings going over different ways to get a pedestrian way. The one thing that we did talk about is changing the geometry of the road so we can go back and.
So we didn't explore that?
We only explored kind of off street, we looked, could we, down, and have a railing and kind of that kind of thing, can kind of use the grade as kind of a natural area. They're just, if you go back to the picture of the home, Erin, there's just that, the right of way is actually probably at the front end of that sedan, land a trail without really disrupting that property owner. So that's why we talked about pushing that retaining wall back, and even with that there is some unintended consequences.
How many driveways do we impact with that?
One.
Just, okay.
So I think what we can do is look at that I'm playing like I'm an engineer here, but I would want to talk about the kind of the safety, like your traffic folks, of pushing out a section of road in a kind of an arbitrary spot and how that's signed, and not that we have people like bouncing into curbs and that kind of thing. But let's go back and like, let's look at that and review. And, you know, I don't often see cars parked on that section, but if you're eliminating parking, then I think we owe it to the neighborhood to go back and say, this is what we're thinking. And plan maybe another open house over the winter and say, this is what we're thinking, and involves no parking on either side of the street.
In that section,
in
let's
that-
let's be very clear about that,
Not
yeah.
all of Mount Hope, just that.
Right, get some feedback from our snowplow team, et cetera, and then bring that back to you as a package, and then let you give us some additional direction.
Is there a life expectancy for a retaining wall? Or can a well-engineered retaining wall like that
Oh,
stay in place in perpetuity?
it can stay in place 50+ years. I mean, the systems that we're installing are very long-term solutions.
So
But
that-
at some point, that will need to be
Yeah.
replaced.
This one, I should clarify, this is a modular block wall, this is a dry cast system, so they don't last as long as
Okay.
the new blocks we're using are wet cast concrete blocks, and they
Like
don't,
what's on 6th
they
Street.
don't have issues with the salt and the freezing and the
Okay.
thawing like these do,
So I guess what my question is this one due to be
Sure,
replaced in the
sure.
next 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. We should probably look at that a little closer too.
And is that a city-owned, I assume?
It's in the right of way.
Okay, so that's a city-owned retaining wall that we take care of. Okay.
That's a good point.
And then, you know, you talked about you were putting on your engineering hat. We talk a lot about traffic calming measures. And tell me if I'm using the wrong engineer terms, but that would be a traffic calming
Yeah.
measure to slow
Mhm.
folks down as they're coming into town.
Mhm.
I have one last question. So when looking at this picture, you can see behind the retaining wall, you've kind of got that big open grass area. I'm not sure who you folks are, if that's your house right there.
Yeah, that's
So when we talk about right of way, how far back does the right of way go into that? You said almost to the front of that car? Okay, so when I'm thinking about right of way, and you're not gonna wanna, but we're looking at everything, so when you're talking about right of way and putting things in, I mean, if this was other right of way, would we be inclined to use it for a trail? I mean, in the Carver Bluffs or something like that, so I'm not for or against it, but you said that you had looked into that a little bit. We know that it affects, you know, one homeowner on the street, but is there?
We couldn't make it work,
Oh, it almost was.
we couldn't make it work because of the grade change. You can see there's like a,
For the,
like a 4-foot elevation drop from the top of the retaining wall to the driveway. So like
We couldn't land the
we couldn't
trail.
land the trail without like, we'd have to go way back into their property and
Mhm.
buy temporary easements and.
okay. Well, I mean, if you came down and you graded it out to hit where the driveway hits, I mean, what kind of grade would that be? I mean, that's a
So
pretty good.
that's
Steps maybe?
that's a pretty big
Can't do
one
it
for state aid
accessibility.
is when you have a road slope like this, you know, the profile grade of this road is really steep.
Mhm.
So they'll allow you to match the road grade, but once you increase it and make it steeper yet, then that doesn't meet their rules anymore, so we can't like climb
Who's they?
faster. The state.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a big issue,
Okay.
for the MnDOT ADA office.
Kayla, you don't wanna see the retaining wall be rebuilt. That's not a barrier for me, especially if it's getting on in years, and it's something that we would have to do in the next handful, I mean, if we have to do it, period, and could do an upgrade into something that would be something with more longevity.
My problem is not with having a retaining wall rebuilt, my problem is the cost associated with it. Yeah.
But if it's an investment we're gonna have to make at some point.
Yeah, and regardless, if we can figure out what the lifespan is left on there, that would be something I'd wanna see in the master
Yeah,
plan.
we can do that.
thoughts on this section?
I don't want to belabor it, but I'm not sure how narrowing the road gave us enough, how the math gave us enough.
I don't think it did yet. I think we're looking for some creative engineering to come up with a few more feet.
I mean, what I'm hearing is we're gonna see if we could extend, we rip out that curb on the west side, and then narrow the street by 3 feet.
Then you could get a sidewalk.
And you could get a sidewalk in.
Well, and it's neat to be net measured on site, like, we're looking at GIS stuff, which is great, but all we've ever talked about is that it's close, right, but we don't know if it's exact when we're on the GIS, so I think knowing for sure, like, can we get in one way or another, or if just, that's not gonna work that way. And
We'll get a figure drawing based on actual survey.
Yeah, we have the survey now, so.
And we'll show you what a sidewalk looks like and the drive lane widths, and you'll be able to see all that.
Great.
We'll work on make sure there's a safe transition from going from like the wide section to the narrow section.
And I know you'll bring us some funding estimates, right, what it looks like
We already kind of,
with the new career
Yes.
stuff.
There could be a possibility where you could maybe make that entrance to Lions Park a little bit more pronounced, where it's like almost like a stop there rather than what it is today, and maybe that's a safer pedestrian.
You do a bump out there, and then you lose that width around the bump
Right.
out, so it might be a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah.
That would be great to slow down people there before they really get going down there.
Look at us.
Look at us all engineering. So,
And we're not at 500,000, but we're probably a couple hundred, because we're gonna be, with the amount of sidewalk and curb, the retaining wall is a big number. It'll be less, but I don't want to give the council the impression that it's gonna be 50,000 when we come back.
Yeah.
And then, if you wanna move to that next slide, it'll be these scenarios, and I kinda help build these with the team, so, the nice part about this, there's still, so let's just, for scenario's sake, say the trail goes down to 150 instead of 500, so you could get 50% from the trail connection program. There are some criteria for that, so we'd have to make sure that we can meet that with grade of the trail primarily, or sidewalk. And then just kind of use this as a guide for what you would be seeing. So if the numbers go down, some of these numbers will go down kind of on a prorated basis. So if the trail ended up being half the amount from 500 to 250, debt service would be probably 35,000 instead of 70, and on from there. But we'll clean this up once we get that new estimate from Erin's office. What is, just want to kind of emphasize this, so I'm not hearing, at least at this point, the council saying we don't want to pursue this or we want to pursue something else. It's just figure out how to get something that's better than what we have today and bring that back to us.
that's where I'm at. Is anybody else?
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think the trade-off with the parking in that area is worth the exploration of this.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
Okay. We'll keep moving then. So this is the north end, this is at Spring Creek Drive. This is one we've been looking at for a handful of years now, and really what we have up there is a sightline issue. The property owner there in the corner has a large number of coniferous trees that are basically planted right on the right-of-way line. So it's kind of a messy situation. It's like, okay, are these his trees, or they our trees? And it's gonna go down that path potentially if we start talking about taking trees out. So we looked at this last fall, and we feel that if we can move the stop bar up closer to the road and just do a modification in that corner to the curb line and the pedestrian ramp with this project, we can get that stop sign moved up, which will increase the sight line to the south. So you can see here this picture, those are the large trees, and you're looking south towards Christie or Forner Lane, and you see now where you stopped today, those trees are in the way. But if you can move that stop bar further towards the intersection, another 5 or 10 feet, then you'll be able to see to the south a lot better. So that would be our goal, to try to clean that up without going and taking out, 10, 50-year-old trees. So just wanted to get any thoughts on that, but that would be how we want to pursue that one.
Yeah, I think that's great. Does that include some curb work there then?
Yeah.
To make it,
That corner
Less round.
pedestrian ramp would have to get cleaned up and modified. The stop sign placement is gonna be one that we need to review.
okay.
But we've looked at this from a MUTCD perspective, and we feel like we have some options here to still meet the state and federal requirements for stop signs and improve that situation.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tricky intersection.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Would the electric poles and the wipes all stay the same above ground?
That's actually one Brent brought up in the past. I haven't looked at that one too closely yet with the electric company, but there's a lot of stuff going on there, so that might be a tough relocation effort, but we can definitely look into it. There's lines that are going in multiple directions there.
Our goal is to have it moved because it's another impediment to that sight line, so even if it's not buried, that it's maybe pushed back.
Adjusted.
So. We did, based on some feedback from the neighborhood, we did install some pedestrian crossing signs up there, and there's gonna be some additional traffic and work done in conjunction with, the Chaska residential project. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but, so there's gonna be some work, so this will be good timing there, and there'll be some more or higher traffic volumes than there are today.
Okay, and then just to finish it up tonight, talking about the funding summary. This is all in line with the pavement management plan estimates that we put together. So we have 3 buckets of money that are gonna fund these improvements. Obviously the street maintenance fund, local street maintenance fund piece for the Carver Bluffs, state aid street funds for Mount Hope Road, and then a combination of the various utility enterprise funds for doing the minor utility maintenance items associated with these project areas. So some minor gate valve work, maybe replace a hydrant. The public services team is taking a close look at kind of all those things this winter, and we'll decide what items have to be addressed with the maintenance of the street. But this is that 115 is a combination of sewer, water, and storm sewer based on the CIP 2026. So that is the funding summary for the work.
Erin, that 1.6 million does not include any of the trail work we just discussed.
It does not. Okay, so I guess we'll talk with Brent, and we're gonna work on these revised concepts for the area, and then we'll decide when we're ready to come back to council to circle back and talk about that, at which time you'd be able to authorize the preparation of the plans and specs. And then we'd be doing that this winter, going out for bids and such, and this would be a 2026 summer construction project.
Erin, could you have something for the second work session in January for the council on the trail sidewalk stuff?
Oh, easily, yeah,
Okay.
for sure, yep.
Okay, let's plan for that.
Okay.
And then we'd authorize the first meeting in February based on whatever feedback they have. Right.
Okay.
Thanks for taking another look at that and your willingness to get creative, because I think we're gonna have to do something that's rather non-traditional.
Yeah,
Stretch.
yep. Thanks for the ideas.
If you need any engineering help
Yeah.
in the office, just let us know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Okay, up next we've got the Great River Energy, just still have to struggle when I'm saying it. Public Utilities Commission application.
A bit of ignorance is the best aid to brainstorming.
Why don't we pass these down?
Oh, I was like, just take the cookies away from me. Cookie.
Yes, hold on. Okay, I think that was the hint to pass these.
Oh.
That's usually how that goes.
Uh-huh.
Switch.
Thank you for taking a minute to,
I'm digging these.
who made all these?
Kathy made the caramels and the pretzel things. I'm not sure who made the other.
Maybe Julie?
How many of these should I eat, do you think?
Nope, you lost your center. You just got the pretzel.
Yeah, you did.
Oh.
Yeah, you lost the middle.
Okay, and then we'll just try this one too. It's here. Anybody?
This one. I haven't had
Wow.
one of these yet.
You pick one farthest away from your body. I'm good.
Okay.
Let me try one of those.
So what happens when we have meetings at dinner time? We're like, oh, food. Then we'll be all hopped up on sugar every single one.
Okay.
All right.
I think you all are pretty familiar with Great River Energy, their Laketown 115 kilowatt project proposed through our growth area. So this has been a pretty impactful project for us for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously that it runs through our growth area. Number two, some challenges we've had with notification from the project. We were filled in pretty late in the process by a township resident that kind of randomly stopped into City Hall, as opposed to being part of the decision-making process, which other communities had the opportunity to do with Great River Energy. So some facts about their proposed project, and then we'll get into some updates that have happened. So it's a proposed length of 3 to 5 miles that essentially extends through, the preferred route goes through our northern growth area that we have in our orderly annexation area and guided in our comprehensive plan. And that project includes poles that are 75 to 100 feet tall. So it's large infrastructure through the growth area with a right-of-way under the poles being 100 feet, which drastically limits the type of development that can happen under those poles. So if it's similar to some easements, some power easements we have in town, we likely wouldn't be able to do much of anything in that area. So obviously the property under the poles would be largely unbuildable, which is deeply impactful to folks that own that property, folks that are thinking about developing their property, who have held it in their family for a while, thinking that might be how they retire, pass well, etc. So through a timeline in the project, you can see that Great River Energy has been working on this project for 2+ years. I won't go through all of these, but they started some open houses in January of 2024. So coming up on January 2026, obviously we're coming up on year 2. We became aware of the project in October, so about 9 months after that process, after their open houses had been completed. So they were working on it previously, and then we were made aware in October. Through the time between October and now, the City Council has been fantastic about engaging with Great River Energy, sharing testimony, sharing implications that their project will have directly to our growth area and on our community, and I think that's been deeply impactful to the Public Utilities Commission. We've gotten a lot of feedback from them requesting additional information or following up with us. So I'd say the information that we've provided has been deeply impactful, and just the story that we've shared of we weren't given the same benefit that other communities were. We'd like to slow this process down a little bit. So through some testimony, some letters that we all have been writing together, the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, requested that additional study was done on Route B. So the Great River Energy has their proposed route or their preferred route, and then Route B is a route that some other people have been advocating for, the city being one. So the PUC then requested that Great River Energy go back and do additional study for what we're calling Route B. A comment period is open right now. It closes tomorrow, so there's a letter in the packet that we're looking for some feedback on that we would be looking to submit tomorrow to be included in the comment period that's live right now. So the study that was completed was done by Power Engineers. It's included in the packet, and it studied again Route B, which has historically been the city's preference. Staff review of the Power Engineer study, if you took some time to read it, I hope that you came to some of the same conclusions. But the proposed route that Great River Energy is looking to explore primarily increases load between Waconia and Victoria north of Airport Road, which I think is one of the more challenging portions of this project, is that it's deeply impactful to our growth area, folks that will be in the city of Carver, and we don't get a net positive increase from it. The benefit is outside of our growth area, outside of our community, but we are the ones taking that impact. The proposed route by Great River Energy is likely more reliable than Route B, so just through like length, distance between poles, etc., their proposed route is more reliable, so in their head, that route makes a lot of sense, it's more reliable, it's cheaper, so moving forward with that probably makes a lot of sense for them. And one piece that's important to think about with the power engineer study is that Route B would require a breaker station that's estimated at about $9.5 million.
Is that the change in reliability, is that breaker station, is that the primary reason that they wouldn't want to do that?
No, from my understanding, the reliability doesn't change much.
Okay.
It's just the way that the project is routed that would require that station.
So has our city attorney had comments on, because the point they're saying, we're taking the brunt of this, right? We don't get any net benefit from you running the line between Waconia, or for Waconia and Victoria. Does that, I mean, what has Dave had to say about that?
I think Councilmember Frischman asked him that at a previous meeting, and his feedback was that just because we're remiss doesn't mean that it was wrong in some way. Like, it was unfortunate. It was obviously challenging for us to understand, but they likely didn't miss a city or a state requirement that would shut the project down entirely. So it's an unfortunate situation. If there was some case that could be made that they had to start the process over, I think we would explore that option. But from Dave's feedback, that isn't a route that we can explore right now. So what we're looking for tonight is some feedback on the letter, obviously to get it into the Public Utilities Commission by end of day tomorrow, so to be included in their information as the PUC begins to review the power engineer's study, looking at the preferred route as well as Route B.
Thank you for going through that with a fine-tooth comb. I didn't read all the information before you shared the letter with me, so I was shocked and disheartened to see that our community is not going to benefit from this. I'm fine with the letter. Erin and I kind of went back and forth with some edits on it. You know, for me, I think it sounds crass and heartless perhaps, but like for the extra costs that they're gonna have to go through for Route B, I'm okay with. I think I want this in the communities that it serves, and I think that Route B, I continue to prefer Route B with this.
So no change in my position either. I was proponent of Route B. Last time we talked about this, I think it's the appropriate language in the letter. I'd like to think that the PUC is going to be able to weigh on Great River Energy's decision. It doesn't, I mean, it sounds like they could still say Great River Energy can choose to follow that directive or not, correct?
Correct, the PUC is responsible for issuing them a permit.
Yeah.
But they can continue to submit their proposed route.
Yeah. So no change in our position. I also feel strongly that without any benefit to our community, I can't in good conscience well, not that I have the power, but allow for Route A to just go through without, I mean, it seems like a convenient omission for the city of Carver to not have been included in any of the public hearings and knowledge prior to a resident telling us about this. It's financially convenient for Great River as well. So nothing more to say. I'm just as upset about this as I think every other council member and mayor and city staff. So thank you for drafting the letter, and I would support that.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this because we just kind of spoke strongly about having that we don't have any benefit from this line that benefits other communities. Do you have that spelled out somewhere?
First.
Oh, where do we have?
I'm just laughing at the draft.
Right,
that I
is it
prepared.
not, is it strong enough though? Perfect does not allow through, so, served. I'm just wondering if it deserves another sentence of hit it back
A
at
little
them.
punchier.
Yeah,
So, to a peek behind the curtain, I drafted an original letter and I was having a tough day apparently. Because it was 2 pages
It
of
was
just
spicy?
like deeply emotional stuff, and then I sent it to Brent and he was like, "Here's some edits, girl." Down to 1 page.
So at
No, I
this
did-
point
Brent helped
though,
with
I agree with Christie. I think, I don't think it hurts to be articulate and aggressive in our response.
What if we, and I had it in a draft when I was editing the letter, and then I took it out, but what if we just bolded that part?
I think it
And
deserves a
it's
full
the-
other sentence of something a little punchier.
Yeah.
I had 2 pages, we can find a sentence. And
Okay.
stick right back in.
Can you clarify to me, I did read the whole document, but I am unclear about whether, they're talking about the breaker for Route B, but the document says they're not putting in they wouldn't be putting in a breaker? So this 9 point whatever million, they say it's required, but they wouldn't be putting it in, is that correct? Or are those two, am I thinking about 2 different parts of the
lines.
project?
Yeah, so their
Okay.
proposed line doesn't require that breaker. Route B would.
Okay, so but in here, so in Route B, when they talk about all of this, they talk about how in order to get the proper kilowatt miles, megawatt miles, whatever, I think it's megawatt miles. In order to get the proper load of megawatt miles, they would require this breaker, but the project would not include the breaker as required in order to get the right megawatt miles. Am I thinking about 2 different things, one that they would include and one that they would not?
I didn't know that I read it that way. I thought that it
So
had to have it.
I'm gonna look at where it
I
was.
have something similar to, and it was early on, like around page 12, is it made it sound like they might need it, and it would be 10 to 15 years.
That's what I'm thinking about too, and I'm wondering if that's the breaker or if that's an additional thing in addition to the breaker.
Does that change our preference for route?
No, it's
No.
still Route B.
but
I just for
I
the
think
most clarity on the letter to make sure that we're being accurate in what we're saying. Oh my gosh, this is a really long
There's an
document.
annotate somewhere.
You also don't have to find it in this moment.
Yeah, so here, time frame. So this is page 12, you're right, page 12. If route alternative B is selected, they'll evaluate whether a breaker station would be added, but they won't necessarily include it, and it's not included in the current plan.
Correct.
Okay, so that 9.5 million that they're saying is gonna cost extra is not gonna cost extra because they're not gonna
Because
include
you don't
that
even
breaker.
know it yet, for
Correct.
sure.
Okay,
And
So let's,
Yeah.
yeah, so let's
So,
strike that
can
part
we
of
put
the-
that in, can we
fourth graph.
highlight that in the letter?
Yep.
That they're calling this an increased cost, but they don't know if they're even gonna do the increased cost?
Right.
Increase, but potentially
and
not
if they
necessary.
do, it could be 5 to 10 years.
And yeah, it could be
Or
5
sorry,
to
10 to 15.
10 to 15 years down the road. Thank you for the page number, Lori, I appreciate that.
Well, that's good because they're touting it as like, oh,
It's
but
so
if we go
much
this
more
route, it's
expensive.
gonna have to be this amount, and that's a little bit of BS in there.
Yeah. Maybe not those words.
We don't write it. We'll
You
say
make
we'll
it sound
say
more
don't write it.
official and diplomatic, but.
I
The
say just
sentiment
don't
is
run
there.
it by Brent next time.
It was 2 pages of darkness. It was-
Now I kinda wanna see it. Can you
So
send us all
actually
first
share
draft?
that with us, we just need to see.
You'll cry yourself to sleep after reading it.
And your children are ugly too.
And we kicked puppies.
Okay. Okay, do you have
Too far, Erin,
I
too
do,
far.
I'm ready, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
let's,
for reading that closely.
let's move on to the stormwater pond maintenance communication plan.
What can I say?
Good.
Care deeply about whatever 15 megawatt lines.
Oh, those are good.
All right, thanks for your patience. At a work session in November, there was some discussion about stormwater pond maintenance, and council requested that staff follow up with a formal plan as far as communications related to that. So I met with Andrew and Jordan and Paul from Public Services and kind of gathered some facts, and we came up with a plan that we wanted to share with you tonight. So the city currently manages around 40 ponds, and then additional ponds are added as new development occurs. And staff is developing a formal plan to establish a rotational maintenance schedule for those 40 ponds. And through the process, Andrew really dug into what other cities were doing and sharing for information, and just compared it to what we had and what opportunities were out there. He found that the city of Prior Lake had a fact sheet that mirrors our process, and with their permission, we developed a version to reflect Carver's specific practices and relevant details. So this was included in your packet, but it's a mowing program fact sheet that was tailored to represent City of Carver practices and contact information on there. So this is the draft of that which was included. The top part outlines what our maintenance crew will perform on a regular basis and what mowing includes and the timing of it, with some contact information. And then down at the bottom, there's a sample picture of what it looks like the day of mowing and then what it would look like 1 year later. And then we also included a QR code that would take the user back to our website. And for the communication side of it, that fact sheet will be included on our website, but what we'll do is we'll mail it to the affected property owners. And if there's a homeowners association related to that pond, we would notify them as well. The QR code directs the users to our website. The city's homepage will have a news flash, and then we can share via social media, being Facebook and Instagram right now. We'll include it in newsletter articles, and when we proceed with the city's mobile app, we can do that as well. So if you have any questions on communications, I'd be happy to answer that. If it's stormwater pond maintenance related, I'll give it a whirl without Andrew here, but.
Any questions, comments?
Is there any way we can include suggestions for residents that are concerned about asset protection? Like I said, in my neighborhood, we had a lot of fences. And a lot of fences that were harmed in the process of mowing one of our stormwater ponds. I had about 3 of my neighbors that had to have fence repairs. And then we also had one neighbor that got a sign that was sucked into a mower and shot through her house. So if there's any way we could include some kind of permissible, not necessarily like recommended or anything, but just like permissible activities if you're concerned about mowing near your property.
When you say permissible activities,
Well,
say more.
When one of my neighbors after the fence debacle reached out to the city, someone had mentioned that in the future when it's coming up that they may consider mowing or weed whacking within a certain distance, doing that on their own within a certain distance so that the city equipment wouldn't go all the way up to their fence line and risk damaging the fence.
Yep.
Does that
I think we could house this if we, just from our side, just left a 1 foot buffer between, so we're not mowing right up to the property line.
Yeah.
And hopefully that creates less of a conflict point. And then if they do, we could maybe add a sentence about if there's where the contact information is for Andrew, that, kind of list off if there's, any issues with the service, or we figure out how to wordsmith it, they can contact Andrew. Is that?
That's
okay.
fine, yeah.
Sure.
We had a lot of problems. It was the first time that our stormwater pond had been mowed, and we had a lot of issues with it. And I don't know if it was user error or resident error, but just managing that interaction going forward is important.
Understood.
Yeah, and I mean, you said what, 1 or 2 feet, whatever it takes to just have a nice little clear zone there
Yep.
where we're not grabbing fences and signs.
And then because no good deed goes unpunished,
Right,
there'll be
yes.
folks who,
Mhm.
but there's this 2
Of course it will,
spot.
yep. But
Yeah.
then when,
How-
then their fence will get hit and.
Can you
get
put
wet, so-
fences? They can't go right up to the property line, can they?
They can.
Right on the
No.
property,
Yeah.
okay.
Since we're addressing the stormwater ponds, I know this is the mowing program. Do we put any language in there to remind folks that we don't treat the water? That we don't, because, you know, we get that question too. How come it looks like algae and why doesn't the city clean the water? Do we, since we're communicating this, do we put any note in there about that it's serving its function?
That's kind of along the lines of what I was thinking of. These aren't ponds, you don't have
Right.
lakefront property, this is
Yeah.
a stormwater
And the
collection
vegetation
basin,
is
that's
kind
kind
of
of
part
a
of the
icky
function.
thing, it's not a, you know, yeah. Like, I don't know if there's a little bit, or even if it's something that you kind of click through that's on the website where the QR code takes you, but I think there's a opportunity to
Mhm.
educate a little bit more
Right.
there.
You can do that.
But it's not a water feature.
Yeah.
We have other water features in town,
It's called the Minnesota River.
so. Okay.
Any other thoughts? All right, let's move on to commission review for the strategic plan, Mr. Mareck.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this was an item that was discussed during the city's last strategic plan update. Kind of 2 buckets here. One, the Park Advisory Group, and I had some help from Erin in kind of giving the history of that. So kind of a Cliff Notes version. Had a long-standing Parks Commission, and the city council decided to kind of disband the Parks Commission in favor of a Parks Advisory Group, kind of a more kind of a fun, less sitting behind the dais, acting on formal items when there weren't a lot of formal items to act on. It got off to kind of really good start, a lot of like pieces to share, Park Funding 101, learn to play pickleball, etc. But the well has kind of run dry a little bit on ideas for that. And so one of the things that we talked about, and so one, you could kind of keep it going, but the pace of those hasn't kept up, so we could take another run at it. But in our analysis, we are offering as an option to transform that or transition that into a resident advisory group. So we have some more diversification of topics. So when we were sitting around brainstorming, thinking about the budget and the upcoming public services project, even just maybe an idea that the council wants to kind of sample by kind of a distinct cohort of residents, and doing that twice a year, and doing a little bit of educational, doing a little bit of informative. Again, that was a suggestion, so you could keep the Parks Advisory Group in place, you could transition to the Resident Advisory Group, or you could do something altogether different. And then the second bucket was the alternate commissioner designation. This predates my time with the city, but its genesis has to do with making sure there was enough folks for a quorum. And that was quite an issue some years back, especially for the planning commission, where they didn't have enough folks to process planning commission items. Erin, you or Councilmember Pershman might have been on some of those groups where we had folks not showing up and we had public hearings that had to be delayed. Natalie Meyer did some research for us on that. You can see that hasn't been an issue for some time.
Can we have to leave the door open?
Sorry.
And one of the things that, at least anecdotally, that I have noticed and experienced, it seems to be kind of a clumsy process when it involves folks that want to be an alternate and move to the full member and what that all means. And then even at the meetings, those members in participating in that discussion and then not having the opportunity to vote. So again, same kind of piece there. You're welcome to kind of keep it as is for whatever reasons, or you can remove that alternate designation, which would just bump up The quorum piece from 3 members to 4 members. We didn't list it, but you could certainly draw that back and have 5 members for HPC and Planning Commission, or do frankly anything in between. So Erin and I can answer any questions. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but we did instigate this conversation or initiate this conversation at the strategic planning session, and so wanted to help with the discussion.
Sure. Let's take this in 2 chunks and talk about the Parks Advisory Group / Resident Advisory Group. I was the liaison to the Parks Advisory Group, and we have not met since June of 2024, so that is like dead and gone, unfortunately. I like the idea of turning it into a resident advisory group. I think we could do some fun stuff with tabletop exercises of like, this is the budget, how are we gonna divvy it up? What do you think? You know, like, is it worth it putting a trail on here, you know, and just kind of doing feedback, especially as we're going into the comprehensive plan, a public services building potentially, and a lot of stuff where we want to use folks to help us spread these messages.
So when, for the Parks Advisory Group, were they involved with the landing revamp when we kind of went back to the drawing board with that?
Well, we haven't done that work yet. That's this summer.
Okay. And then how about for the park down here for Creekside? Were they meeting about design for that?
That was probably the last thing that the Parks Commission did.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking is because I know a lot of this has kind of been kicked to the Planning Commission, at least that gives me that appearance. I'm not saying that it all has been, but where, you know, back in the day, the Parks Commission had a lot to do here in town. There was a lot of things. Now things change and evolve and are different from the way they were back then. But my initial, when I look at this, especially we're going into comp plan and Parks Master Plan, is that I don't know that the Parks Advisory Group or Commission or whatever you want to call it maybe is done yet. I think that there's things that are coming up that might be important for a group like that to look at, and I think that a lot of things used to be talked about with the Parks Commission. I keep saying commission, but that was kind of before what I'm used to. So, you know, talking about how things were designed and, you know, getting a pulse from them on what the community was feeling and looking for, and trends, things that they were doing, and then having some, you know, input on what certain areas look like, and maybe, you know, just use the landing as an example. Maybe some people said, we find out we all really want a bright yellow kids playground down here, or maybe we really don't. So while I don't think that whatever the resident advisory group is a terrible idea, when I just think of it this way of like these kind of random topics, I mean, I think we have put focus groups together before, like we've done for County Road 11 with the landscaping and that kind of things. And maybe some of these things that are mentioned will be covered well by a focus group rather than having just or anyway you could call it a resident advisory group, you know, that works too. But I almost feel that that one's gonna be a little pie in the sky and not quite focused enough, because it could be this topic and this topic. Well, I might care about that topic, but maybe I don't care about that topic as much, or I'm not knowledgeable. So, but if I'm on the advisory group as a appointee, then maybe that's not my passion either, right? So maybe I really feel strongly about the parks, but I don't feel as strongly about the public services facilities. So I don't know, for me, I would rather see the resident advisory groups come in as specific focus groups for these specific areas, and then continue on with the Parks Advisory for now, which in 2 years could change again.
Maybe just one note of clarification and probably a question for staff. The Parks Advisory Group were not appointed folks. It was just a group of like, you wanna come? And it was very casual of like, are you interested in pickleball? No? You don't have to go. Cool. You know, like, and I think I see the resident advisory group being the same way. Do you care about the comprehensive plan? Does that sound nerdy and fun to you, or does that sound nerdy and not how you want to spend your time? Cool, they'll come, you know. So,
well, with all these new things that are coming, all these new developments, maybe we got rid of the Parks Commission when right now it's something that we should actually be thinking about having, or something that maybe is a little more structured as a park advisory group. I just think we have, I mean, we're growing immensely, and maybe we gave up on it what seemed right at the time, but maybe it's something that actually is needed.
I would say it's not so much that we, and Erin, reel me in if I'm wrong, I don't think we gave up on it, there just wasn't enough to do
Yes.
for either one, the Parks Commission and the Parks Advisory Group,
Yeah, and that was the hard part for me is like, it was an active group of great people and we didn't want to bring them together just to like say that we did. To
For
say we met and it was great. So if we want to keep that as a group kind of as a reserve, I think we could tap into it. But it's just tricky if they don't hear from us for 18 months and then we say like, hey, we have a cool park, come on in and hear about it. And some of those people absolutely will. I don't want them, I want to meet their expectation that they're providing value.
Yep, I agree.
Do you think there's enough deliberation in the next year to warrant a structured advisory board?
I think that deliberation like on the landing and the parks master plan needs to be community-wide. Like I would want to do broader open houses and like the comp plan, I would like to get feedback from everyone in the community, not just to funnel it to, I want to get feedback from people who are excited about parks but also hate our parks. And like that's not the group of 20 people that said I want to volunteer my time to learn more. So I would say feedback needs to be broader than just that group.
And do you think we think the resident panel is likely to bring a larger audience to do that?
In my head, they wouldn't make decisions. They would give us some feedback, so it could be like a small cohort that gets together to talk about it, but there would be several other.
So who's making so where the Parks Commission used to have input about the parks that are going in, whether it's the landing or the, who's doing that now? Is it the Planning Commission or is it staff?
The planning commission.
Should we postpone, just hold on to this for the meeting?
Oh, yeah, I know we're getting.
No, I just, I don't wanna shoehorn this into the next 2 minutes, and I think we got a little bit more conversation on this one next. Agreed? Great, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Christian, a second by Sarah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Sorry for the abrupt
You're fine.
ending, but I think we need more time on it.
I know, I have to stop with the cookies.